Emma, a waitress who works 2 jobs to supplement her income, observed a distraught widow sitting alone herself in the diner's corner. Perceiving her suffering, Emma made the decision to cover the cost of the woman's supper herself. She had no idea her life would be eternally altered by this simple gesture of kindness. 2 days later, a lawyer showed up with information that would change Emma's life in ways she never would have thought possible. Welcome to Mystic Tales, everyone. I'm thrilled to tell you a fresh story today. For almost 3 years, Emma had been employed at the little diner. It wasn't glitzy, however, it covered the expenses. Almost. It felt like a battle every day. In addition to paying her rent, college loans, as well as taking care of her aging mother, Emma was constantly exhausted. But Emma's kindness never wavered, even when circumstances seemed difficult. Her first impression of the woman came on a wet Wednesday afternoon. She sat at the window at the far end of the cafe and gazed up at the dismal sky. Emma sensed that something wasn't right. The weight of loss was evident on her face. Her eyes are hollow, crimson with tears. The woman hardly looked at the menu before Emma came over to take her order. The woman responded in a whispery voice, "I'll just have some tea. Nothing else." Emma felt so sorry for her. Although she refrained from prying, she could sense the sadness emanating from the female. She kept thinking about how lonely the woman appeared as she made the tea. She paused before asking, "Is there anything else you need?" After bringing the tea back, a small, melancholy smile appeared on the woman's face as she shook her head. "No, this is enough. Thank you." Emma gave a nod and turned to leave, but the sensation persisted. She observed the woman as she sipped her drink carefully while gazing off into space as if she were deep in concentration. Emma made a choice a few minutes later when the woman subtly requested the check. She would provide coverage, the price of the tea. Even if it was a tiny gesture, it might brighten her day a bit. Emma gave the woman a receipt and smiled as she approached the register. With the straightforward words, "Your supper is on me. Be careful." As she read the note, the woman's eyes began to well up with tears. She turned to face Emma. I don't know what to say," she said, her voice catching. "No need to say anything. Just take care of yourself. Okay?" Emma said with a kind grin. The woman nodded while whispering, tears streaming down her face. Thank you so much." Emma felt a wave of warmth wash over her as the woman walked out of the diner. Although she was unaware of this woman's past, she was certain that, at that precise moment, she had changed something, even if it was only a little. She returned to her work shift, the woman's thankful smile, which she carried with her all day. However, Emma was unaware that this modest gesture of generosity was about to infuse her life with something much greater. After 2 days, Emma resumed her regular schedule at the diner. The soft buzz of patrons, the sound of plates clattering. Everything was just like usual. She had nearly forgotten, until the diner's door opened, regarding the woman from the other day, and a man wearing a dark suit entered. Emma was immediately drawn to his presence. He didn't belong here. He was too stiff for this setting. After surveying the diner, the man approached the counter directly. Emma's position. He nodded courteously at her. In a formal yet approachable tone, he said, "Good afternoon. Are you Emma?" In a little bewildered state, Emma blinked and said, "Yes, I'm Emma. Can I help you with something?" With a little smile, the man took a folder out of his briefcase. "My name is Mr. Holloway, and I work as a lawyer for a client who is just in this diner." Emma felt her heart race faster, flashed back to the woman and her heartfelt gratitude. In her head, however, why will a lawyer be trying to find her? With caution, she inquired, "Is this about the woman who was here 2 days ago?" "Yes, that's it," Mr. Holloway replied. "She requested me to find you. You see, my client has been dealing with sadness ever since she lost her husband. She was greatly moved by your thoughtfulness the other day, more than you may know." Emma's cheeks turned red. She had merely purchased a cup for the woman. of tea. She didn't think it was a huge deal. Emma responded, "It was nothing, really. I just wanted to help." Before her voice faded, sensing her timidity, the lawyer smiled softly. To you, it might have appeared like a little gesture. However, it meant the world to her. She was at an extremely difficult time in her life, and your generosity gave her hope. A lump started to grow in Emma's throat. She was unaware. What should I say? However, Mr. Holloway went on before she could answer. What you did touched my client so much that she made a choice. She has made the decision to give you a significant monetary present. Emma's eyes went wide with surprise. What? A financial gift. With a nod, the attorney opened the folder and took out a document. She desired to convey her appreciation in a way that can actually change your life. You've been given a substantial amount of money, enough to support you in ways she thought appropriate, considering your personal hardships. Emma's thoughts were racing as she gazed at the page. That was not what she had anticipated. This kind of event might occur. It seemed unreal, similar to a dream. With her voice quivering a little, Emma muttered, I don't know what to say. Mr. Holloway gave a pleasant smile. Just know that you don't have to say anything. Her generosity will now have an impact on your life, just as yours has already done. Mr. Holloway laid the documents in front of Emma, who sat in startled stillness. The eatery felt remarkably silent, as if everything had momentarily slowed down. She blinked, still having trouble processing what had just been spoken, looking at the document. Her voice was scarcely audible as she eventually inquired, How much? After clearing his throat, Mr. Holloway, he looked at the paper before him. It's a significant sum, enough to cover all of your current financial issues and more. It comes to $50,000. Emma's throat tightened with breath. $50,000. She was shocked by what she could hear. That sum of money has the power to alter everything. Her mother's, her bills, and her rent take care. She could suddenly be free of all the anxieties that had been plaguing her for years. Emma looked up at the lawyer and said, trembling, I don't know if I can accept this. Mr. Holloway looked at her kindly but firmly. My customer was rather explicit. This isn't simply about the money. She wants to return the favor because of what you've done for her, and she has decided to do it this way. Slowly, Emma nodded, her thoughts still racing. She had not anticipated receiving anything in exchange for a little gesture. After that day, she had actually completely forgotten about it. But today, as she sits here with a lawyer and a sum of money that could change her life, she came to understand the power of kindness. While Mr. Holloway explained the specifics of the money transfer to her, Emma's mind kept returning to the woman. She could see herself seated there, and her face was etched with sadness in the diner's corner. Emma was aware that she was in mourning. However, she was unaware of the depth of that sadness. After Mr. Holloway had completed his explanation, he got up and gave his business card to Emma. If you're worried or have any queries, do not hesitate to contact me. I wanted to reassure my client that this present is her way of saying thank you, and it has no conditions attached. Emma, still clutching the card in her shaking fingers, stood up as well. Please tell her. Thank you. I can't even begin to describe how much this means to me. The attorney smiled softly as he nodded. I will, Emma. Take care. Mr. Holloway then departed from the diner, leaving Emma standing there with her head spinning from the dialogue. Her heart pounding, she took a seat at the counter again. How may one action of does a modest act of compassion, like purchasing a cup of tea, result in something so significant? Emma became disoriented as the hours went by and the diner was bustling with patrons. Thinking, she had always thought that assisting others was important. However, this was distinct. Her generosity wasn't the only factor here. It had to do with the relationship she was unaware of, created with that woman. A relationship that has now permanently altered her life. Emma was overcome by the magnitude in the days that followed of what had taken place. She hadn't discussed the money with anyone. Not quite yet. Still, everything seemed too unbelievable. She contemplated for hours what she would take action, how she was able to accomplish the life changes she had only ever imagined. She had a cup of tea with her mother one evening after working at the diner. She warmed her hands. Emma's mother, who was feeble but perceptive, saw a change in Emma. As she studied Emma, her mother whispered, "You've been quiet lately. Everything all right?" Emma grinned, the smile that concealed 1,000 ideas. "I'm all right. I have a lot on my mind, Mom." With a tiny twist of her head, her mother said, "I know you. There's something more. You can tell me." Emma inhaled deeply. She was aware that she could no longer keep this to herself. Something occurred a few days ago, something that will alter our situation. Her mother's expression was a mix of interest and worry as she gazed at her. "What do you mean?" After a brief pause, Emma told her the tale about the woman at the diner, regarding the attorney and the astounding present she was given. Her mother paid close attention. As Emma narrated, her eyes widened in shock. Her mother said in a shocked whisper, $50,000. Emma nodded, although she was still a little taken aback by everything. "It was unbelievable to me. Additionally, I didn't accomplish anything noteworthy. I simply wanted to support her." Emma's mother extended her hand and took it, her hold feeble yet steady. "Sometimes, the little things are the most important. You might not have considered a lot of what you did, but it was everything to her." Emma felt the warmth and comfort of the connection as she grasped her mother's hand. They parted. "I just didn't expect this. I didn't expect any of it." Her mom gave her a soft grin. "Kindness always finds its way back to you, even in unexpected circumstances." For a while, they sat quietly as the burden of everything began to weigh on them. Emma was aware that her life was about to undergo unexpected changes. She would use the funds to settle her debts, tend to her mother, and perhaps even give her a respite from the long hours in the diner. More importantly, though, it had served as a reminder to her of the impact that even a small act of kindness can have. In the stillness of the night, Emma came to a significant realization. The money wasn't the only factor. It had altered her life. It was her relationship with that bereaved widow, a relationship that had impacted both of their lives in ways they could not have predicted. Emma was overcome with thankfulness as she sat there with her mother, not only for the monetary contribution, but also as a reminder that despite her personal hardships, she was able to change the lives of another person. She had also altered her own in the process. One week following Mr. Holloway's visit, Emma made the decision that her life had been transformed by the woman. She had been considering her all the time, pondering her well-being. If she was at peace following her husband's death, Emma felt compelled to express gratitude, even though she wasn't sure if the woman wanted to hear it. She left a brief message when she contacted the number Mr. Holloway had provided her. "This is Emma, from the dining establishment. I simply wanted to express my gratitude. I'm available if you ever want to talk." After a few days without hearing back, Emma began to suspect that perhaps the woman didn't wish to expose old wounds again. However, one morning while Emma was preparing for her phone rang during her shift. She didn't recognize the number. She gave a tentative response. "Emma, it's Grace, the woman you helped at the diner." Emma's heart pounded. She was surprised to hear from her. "Grace, I'm so glad you called. I wasn't sure if you would." When Grace spoke again after a delay on the other end of the telephone, her voice was steady but gentle. "I've been thinking about calling you. It's just been hard, you know." Despite the fact that Grace couldn't see her, Emma nodded. "I just wanted to say thank you. I understand. Don't even know how to describe it. Everything has changed because of what you've done for me." Grace remained silent for a while before continuing. "You know, Emma, following the death of my spouse, the world seemed to have fallen apart around me, and I doubted that anyone could comprehend the suffering I was experiencing. But as soon as I entered the diner, and your generosity to me was like a beacon in the shadows." Emma could feel tears welling up in her eyes. "That day, I was at a loss for words. I wanted to do something to help because I could see how much you were hurting." "You did more than help," Grace said in an impassioned voice. "You brought it to my attention that decent people like you still exist in the world, and I wanted to do something for you in exchange. I wanted to repay you for your generosity." Emma felt the weight of Grace's words as she swallowed the lump in her throat. "Thank you so much. I truly am, Grace, and I will always remember what you have done for me." Grace's tone grew softer. Neither will I. Emma, neither will I. Emma sat quietly when they hung up, allowing the discussion to fully register. The funds had been a blessing, indeed. However, this relationship with Grace was much more profound. It served as a reminder that the tiniest actions may have life-altering effects, even at the most trying moments. After several months, Emma's life started to settle down. She paid off with the money to pay off her obligations, make sure her mother had everything she needed and required. She even reduced the number of hours she worked at the diner so she could have more time to relax and take a breath. Emma didn't feel as like she was drowning for the first time in years. But the lesson Grace had taught her was the one that stayed with her the most. That generosity has a method of returning to you, frequently at the most unexpected moment. Emma kept working at the diner. However, she now recalls those little gestures each time she serves a customer. A grin, a cup of tea, kind phrase potentially transform a person's life. Gazing upon the bustling diner, resonating with the voices of common people, Emma grinned to herself. She had discovered that life was more than merely overcoming obstacles. It was about the relationships we form, the generosity we display, and the surprising ways those experiences resurface. Did you enjoy this story? For more, hit the like button and sign up for Mystic Tales. Let's write a single word in the comments section to express how this tale made you feel.